चितन्ते पुंडरीकाक्षा नमस्ते विश्वभावना नमस्तेस्तु ऋषिकेशा महापुरुष पूर्वजा देवानां दानवानां च सामान्यमधिदैवतम् सर्वदा चरणद्वन्द्वं व्रजामि शरणं तव। एकस्त्वमसि लोकस्य स्रष्टा संहारकस्तथा अध्यक्षश्च हनुमन्ता च गुणमाया समावृतः। संसारं सागरं घोरं अनंत क्लेशभाजनम् त्वामेव शरणं प्राप्य निस्तरन्ति मनीषिणः। चितन्ते पुंडरीकाक्षा। Wish you all a very, very happy, blissful New Year. Whenever we begin with a new year, we also start thinking about New Year resolutions. New Year means resolutions, at least on the 1st January. We resolve, the mind dissolves. And this keeps happening all the time. Every New Year resolution is all about solving a problem. We identify some problem and we resolve to solve. While it is important to solve the problems of life, it is more important to solve the problem that is life. In the process of trying to solve the problems of life, we completely miss out on solving the problem that is life. Like taking our famous car and driver analogy, if a driver is expertly attending to problems of fixing the car breakdown, refueling the car while going on a journey, it is well and good, but what if he ends up reaching at the end of the road where there is a blockade, or worse still, there is a steep fall? What is the problem of expertly attending to fixing all the problems of refueling, fixing the breakdown, and so on? Similarly, to what use if we just focus our entire life on trying to solve the various problems of life, if we do not attempt to solve the problem that is life? Especially life as we know, which is rooted in incompatibility with our goals, where we are searching for the eternal in the temporary. How can we ever solve or resolve to solve this problem? Therefore, whenever we take up any New Year resolution, what do we fundamentally try to do? Fundamentally, we are trying to aspire for success. Success in all walks of life, success in all aspects of life. But fundamentally, while we are aspiring for success in all aspects of life, aspiring for success in all walks of life, we also fail to pause and try to understand what the success is all about. We want to succeed, But if I were to ask each and every one of you to define what success means to you, I am sure that we will possibly come up with more than 10 definitions. Now, we are all seeking the secret sauce for success. What is that? And possibly we spend our lifetime trying to find that secret sauce. What is that which will bring us success? Is there something, a simple manual, a book, a simple formula, something very easy? Yes, there is something. We all know that. Something called the Gita. 700 verses, too much. To read, study, understand 700 verses. To make it simple, one verse of Gita is enough to understand the success mantra, to understand how do we solve the problem of resolutions and succeed. What is that one mantra? A very, very common, popular mantra, shloka, which we repeatedly chant. It's only that we kind of chant it, but do not dwell too much on it, because it happens to be also the Phalashruti of the Gita. What is that one shloka? Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanudharaha, Tatra Shrihi Vijayaha Bhutihi Dhruvanit Matirmama. The conclusion of the Gita, the concluding shloka of the Gita, is an unequivocal assurance, a profound prophecy. There cannot be a better success mantra than this. The very secret of success is embedded within this Phalashruti of the Gita. Tatra Shrihi Vijayaha Bhutihi Dhruvanitihi. Prosperity, victory, all kinds of goodness, rock solid righteousness are all guaranteed, it says, guaranteed. Are all guaranteed. Interestingly, this last shloka of the Gita answers the very first question of the Gita. There is a sublime symmetry between the starting of the Gita and the ending of the Gita. A sublime symmetry. Now, Gita, as we know, is essentially a conversation. But there are two conversations. It's not one conversation. It's a Krishna-Arjuna Samvada, but the Krishna-Arjuna Samvada is embedded in another conversation, Dhritarashtra Sanjaya Samvada. Two conversations going on. Both conversations happen to be between a blind person and a charioteer. That we know. In the case of the actual Samvada, Arjuna is not physically blind, but he was mentally blind. And the charioteer, Parthasarathi, guides him with quintessential wisdom. And that is the Gita is all about, is between this conversation. But we should not forget the other important conversation. The conversation between the real blind man, Dhritarashtra, and his charioteer, Sanjaya. Now, the very first shloka of the Gita, which begins with Dhritarashtra's question, a very important question, which is the seed for the Gita. At least for that, we should thank Dhritarashtra. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakah Pandavascheva Kima Kurvata Sanjaya. What is this question? Now, if we translate this question, essentially Dhritarashtra is asking, hey Sanjaya, what do the people who have assembled for war? What do these people, the Pandavas and the Kauravas who have assembled for war, what are they doing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? This is the question. Now, what kind of a question is it? Now imagine if I ask you this question. What do the people who have assembled in a restaurant, what are they doing? What do they do? Isn't it obvious? They've assembled a restaurant to eat. Why should one ask? What do the people who have assembled in a cinema theater do? Watch the movie. Similarly, why is Dhritarashtra asking, what do these people who have assembled for war on the battlefield, what are they doing? Isn't it a straightforward, obvious question? And the answer is, what do? They fight. What is the necessity for asking this question? The intention of the question is revealed by one important word here. Dharma Kshetre. Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra here is qualified by Dharma Kshetra. Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta Ayutsavaha, Mamakah Pandavascheva Kima Kurvata. So therefore, the intention of the question here is the fortunes. How are the fortunes of the people who have assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra affected by Dharma? That is the actual intention. Because Dhritarashtra knows his sons are adharmic and Pandavas are dharmic. He wants to know how are their fortunes shaped by Dharma. In essence, Dhritarashtra's question therefore is, what is Dharma only? That is the same question which the actual conversation between Arjuna and Krishna also begins. The actual conversation which begins later begins with Arjuna's question. Karpanya dosho upahata swabhavah chamitvam dharma sammona cheta shreyasya nishitam brutan me shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. He also wants to know what is Dharma, because I also do not know what my Dharma is. In a way, therefore, that question which the Gita starts to try to address right at the beginning and the way it ends. Dharma, therefore, what is our Dharma? The Gita unequivocally answers success is our Dharma. Success is our Dharma. Our Dharma is success. Our nature is to be successful. So why do we need to even search for success if our very nature is successful? We are all used to complicate things and try to find solutions. Now, we make life so very complicated. Life by design is very simple. In Bhagavan's design, there is no complexity. Everything is simple. Everything is to be simple, but we make it so very complicated. And then we start saying, I have so many problems to solve. Life is full of problems. Everything is complex. And then we end up focusing on the complexity that we created for ourselves. So, the Phalashruti of the Gita, how does it answer this question? The question of how Dharma shapes our fortunes. Now, isn't this the same question that we need to ask ourselves? The question that Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya. How is Dharma shaping the fortune of Pandavas and Kauravas on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? Now, the same question is applicable to each and every one of us. How does Dharma shape our own fortunes in our life journey? The answer by the Phalashruti is simple, straightforward. No ambiguity whatsoever. Loud and clear. We cannot say, I did not understand. Even a straightforward, unlike many other shlokas where a straightforward word-to-word translation is not enough, Sanjaya ensured that at least for this shloka, one cannot have an excuse saying, I did not understand the inner meaning. Tatra Shrihi Vijayaha Bhutihi Drivani Tirmatirmama. Straight. And all kinds of success. Again, no ambiguity here. One cannot say that the Gita is saying only spiritual success. Somebody went and said, you haven't still started your spiritual journey. He said, I still have a lot more time, you see. Next year I'm going to retire. I still have a lot more time. This is here, even for those people, the answer is loud and clear. Shrihi, this is what you want. Shrihi, prosperity, worldly prosperity, guaranteed. Vijayaha, worldly success, spiritual success, guaranteed. Bhutihi, goodness in existence, guaranteed. Driva nitis, rock solid righteousness, always be right all the time, guaranteed. Now, the only thing for this guarantee, there is one precondition. That also we miss out. We focus on the second part of the shloka. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanuddharaha, Tatra Shrihi Vijayo Bhutihi, Dhrivanitir Matirmama. The second part of the shloka is, we definitely will not fail to miss it. But there is a precondition to this. And what is it precondition? Is the first part of the shloka. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanuddharaha, Tatra Shrihi, Yatra Tatra. That we cannot miss out. Now, what is this Yatra? Now, is Arjuna alone not enough? Arjuna with his Gandiva, the great Arjuna, is he alone not enough? With his Gandiva, for Strihi, for Vijayaha, for Bhutihi, for Dhrivanitihi? Sanjaya is very clear. No, not enough. Arjuna alone, the great Gandiva, is not enough. Now, is Krishna alone enough? Of course. Chitante Pundarikaksha. He is ever victorious. We are not answering, we are not trying to ask that question. The question here is, how can we be successful? So therefore, the answer is very clear. It's not where there is Arjuna, where there is Arjuna together with Krishna. Where there is Arjuna together with Krishna, success is guaranteed. So what is the success formula here? What is the mantra here? Very clear, simple mantra. Where there is Arjuna together with Krishna, there is success. So what is success for me? Where there is me together with Krishna. Now the question is, Krishna is always with me. So where is this question of Krishna not being with me? So what is the point in trying to reiterate? It is not just about where there is Arjuna together with Krishna. This is the concluding verse of the Gita, which is essentially capturing the key message of the Gita, where there is Arjuna together with Krishna basically means where there is Arjuna in harmony with Krishna, where there is Arjuna whose will is in harmony with Krishna's will, there is fitness. Therefore, what is the secret to success? When the individual will is in harmony with Krishna's will, success is guaranteed. So immediately we will ask this question: what is individual will? what is free will? Then what is fate? What is Krishna's will? How do I know his will? And what it means that my will has to be in harmony with Krishna's will. We have discussed this many times, but in the context of beginning a new year, I thought it is important for us to kind of also summarize this so that it becomes a guideline for us as we start taking up genuinely New Year resolutions. New Year resolutions with confidence. Now, the moment we say confidence again, as long as the confidence is rooted in our will, we have a problem. The confidence also, we need to understand this very clearly. Misplaced confidence is also dangerous. Misplaced confidence. What do I mean by misplaced confidence? There was this lady who was very confident, and she approached a dietitian. This confident lady approached a dietitian and having this conversation. She said, "Doctor, I'm sure it is not my weight that is a problem, it is my height," she said. She was so very confident. "It is not my weight, it is my height that is a problem." The doctor for a moment did not understand what she was trying to say. "What do you mean?" She said, "You know what, doctor? According to my weight, I should be 10 feet tall. See, my height is a problem, not my weight." Very confident, but misplaced confidence. Confidence, if it needs, it should not be misplaced. If it should be rightly placed, it should be built not on free will, but on Krishna's will. Now, we have seen this through 17 chapters of the Gita, and as we prepare for the 18th chapter, it is important for us to be clear on what is free will and what is Krishna's will. Only then, when we start the 18th chapter, we would also relish the concluding message of Krishna. Now, what is free will? What is fate? How are they related? What is Krishna's will? More importantly, how do we know it? Okay, my will has to be in line with his will. But what is his will? How do I know it? How do I know Krishna's will? And what it is meant when I say, when my will has to be in harmony with Krishna's will, what does it mean? What is this harmony here? Now, first of all, free will, if we have to simply give the definition, it is free will is choosing a desire. It is as simple as the choice that we make in choosing our desires is free. The mind desires, the intellect shapes, the will executes. This is the process. The mind desires, the intellect shapes, and the free will executes. It's like I'm holding a torchlight. The torchlight can be directed anyway. It can be directed upwards, it can be directed downwards. But yeah, if I have to go towards one direction, I need to give the proper direction to the torchlight. So free will, so if the desire is to go in towards north, and if there is darkness, the path is dark, and if I need to use a torchlight, the process of directing the torchlight and throwing the light on the path towards north. Now, this free will is all about choosing desires. Immediately, one should ask this question. We talk about the so-called free will. In reality, is this free will free, quote unquote? What happens when we keep choosing our desires over a period of time, using our free will? We keep choosing desires. We keep choosing desires to fulfill. Over a period of time, the free in the free will slowly will dissolve. The resolve dissolves. No, will is about this resolve. The resolve will dissolve over a period of time, knowingly or unknowingly. How can we understand this? Very easy. We all browse very regularly every day. As a user, I keep browsing every day, and over a period of time, my browser understands what my preferences are. Automatically, it will take me wherever I want to go. Everything is set. Similarly, over a period of time, repeatedly choosing tamasic and rajasic desires, my free will becomes free, no longer free will. It actually becomes essentially a driven, my vasanas drive my free will, which means this is where fate comes in. So when we start saying free will versus fate, now these are two different things, but somewhere down the line, they seem to be coming together. There is no more free will. There is no more fate separately. Free will and fate seem to come together. That is why the Chitante Stotra in the Rigveda Kila declares Samsara Sagaram Ghoram Ananta Klesha Bhajanam. Ananta Klesha Bhajanam. Samsara Sagaram Ghoram. Why? Because the moment my free will and my fate become one and the same, samsara, the sagara, becomes ghora. Samsara need not be ghoram, need not be painful at all. When it becomes painful, when I am helplessly tossed around in the ocean. Only when I am helplessly tossed around in the ocean, it becomes ghoram. Ananta Klesha Bhajana, a place of filled with adversities. Every step is an adversity. Every step I'm stepping on a bombshell. I don't know what's going to happen. Every step can be disastrous. Why? Because free will and fate have come together. My prarabdha is dictating this very life. Fate is my prarabdha. I come into this life with a set of vasanas, with set of karma, and that determines the direction, the course of my life, and completely rules my life. So then the question that we all have is fate then so very overpowering? The answer to this question is in the question itself when we define what is fate. Fate, prarabdha, is a product of our free will. What we call fate is nothing but a product of our free will. Which means what is a product of our free will cannot be more powerful than our free will. We need to understand this very clearly. It is our free will that has created what we call fate. If what can create it can also destroy it, can overpower it. So which means fate cannot be more powerful than free will. Free will that has created fate can overpower fate, can overpower prarabdha, provided how it is exercised. Samsara Sagaram Ghoram Ananta Klesha Bhajanam. That is the problem statement. What is the solution statement? Tvameva Sharanam Prapya Nistaranti Maneshinaha. Tvameva Sharanam Prapya Nistaranti. Nistaranti. Cross over. How do I cross over this ocean? This ocean where I am helplessly tossed around. It looks like I have completely no control. Whatever I do, I'm being tossed hither and thither. How do I cross over? Tvameva sharanam prapya nistaranti manishinaha. Samashrita ye padapallava plavam mahatpadam punya yashoho murare. Bhavambudir vatsapadam param padam yat vipadam nadesham. Srimad Bhagavatam beautifully gives us the answer. It sounds like a riddle. Padam yat vipadam nadesham samashrita ye padapallava plavam mahatpadam punya yashoho murare. Punya yashoho murare. Bhavambudir vatsapadam param padam yat vipadam natesham. Padam yat vipadam natesham. Every step that I take in this life seems to be slippery. Every step I take, one step forward, I slip 10 steps backward. How do I cross this slippery surface? Says, Samashrita ye padapallava plavam mahatpadam punya yashoho murari. For one who has surrendered to Murari, for him or her, this ocean of samsara is like water contained in a calf's footprint. Like a water contained in a calf's footprint, the ocean of samsara. Which means, this is exactly what the Jitante Stotra is saying. Tvameva sharanam prapya nistaranti manishinaha. So to the question as to how do I cross this, it is about attuning my will to his will. This is the harmony. The harmony that we are talking about is aligning my individual will with Bhagavan's will. Now the question is, what is Bhagavan's will? What is Krishna's will? What is Krishna's will? You want to know. It is like asking, what are the rules of the game? We all play a game. What are the rules of the game? Now, any game that I play, I have to play by the rules of the game. Any game has some rules. Now, if I play the game as per the rules, I win. It's a no-brainer. If I play a game by the rules of the game, I win. If I break the rules, I either lose or I may even get banned. Two possibilities are there. Similarly, game of life is also the same. When I play by the rules of the game of life, I win, no doubt. But when I break the rules of the game of life, two possibilities are there. I lose, Papa Karma. I also can get banned from Bhuloka also. I can go to any of the lower loka. So therefore, what is Krishna's will? Krishna's will is nothing but the rules of the game. And how do we know it? The Shastras reveal. Whatever the Shastras reveal is his will. As simple as that. And what do Shastras reveal? The rules of the game. Gita is all about the rules of the game called life. This is exactly what the Shastra reveals. And the Shastra reveals Bhagavan's will. And what is his will? His will is that we reach him. He has only one. His sankalpa is that this samsara, this whole creation is for only one purpose. The creation is his play, and this is a playground, an opportunity given for us to play the game so that we can reach. For his will, ultimately, Bhagavan's will is that we reach him. That is what he wants. And everything he goes about doing is exactly for this. The jiva who is lost in the cycle of samsara is given every opportunity, and he keeps giving repeatedly opportunities. Not one, not two. Every moment that unfolds in life is an opportunity that is given. Every moment, it's not every day. Every moment is an opportunity that is given for us, given to us to realize this. And what is therefore, we know his will through the Shastras that he has given. We know his will through situations that unfold, where we find out that everything, majority of what happens is also not in our control. That also is his will. Through that also we know his will. He keeps repeatedly reminding us. He keeps repeatedly reminding us that not everything is within our control. That reminder keeps happening, but we keep repeatedly forgetting it. So he not only gives us the Shastras, he also takes avatars and teaches those Shastras. He also, not only that, as our Antaryami, he always stays with us and keeps trying to talk to us. His phone keeps ringing, but we don't pick up the call. He keeps the ringing is constantly on. He wants to connect with us. The phone is ringing internally. We will take every other call. Every other call that comes to us in the world, we have all the time, but we never lift this phone. That phone number that keeps coming. Krishna is calling. Krishna is calling. Please wait. You will see later. And he also keeps reminding us exactly for this reason. Because we are not lifting his call, he keeps reminding us through situations which go beyond our control. To basically tell us, at least now realize that you should pick up the call. We will say, no, no, no. I will fix it. I will fix the problem and come to you. I don't know when we will fix and when we will lift the call. But he will keep ringing. The phone will keep ringing, no doubt about that. He will keep calling. So we know what is our free will. We know what is fate and what is the relationship between the fate and free will. We've also seen that overpowering our fate is not impossible. It is difficult, but not impossible. How is it possible? When we use our free will, but how to use the free will to overcome the powerful force of fate? This free will alone is not enough. It is only finite. It needs the backing of the infinite power that is available, and that is where to understand his will becomes very important. To acknowledge his will and align with his will. That is why our rishis have very clearly understood. And what did they do? Chitante Pundarikaksha. Very simple. They've understood the secret. And therefore, how do they celebrate life? They celebrate life by basically singing Chitante Pundarikaksha, Namaste Vishwabhavana, Namaste Surishikesha, Mahapurusha Purvaja. They are not asking for their victory, their success. The rishis, like you and me, have not approached Bhagavan and said, Bhagavan, make me successful. Give me success. No. They said, Chitante Pundarikaksha, may you be victorious. Because why? They know the secret. He is victorious means I am victorious. When he is successful, I am successful. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanuttaraha. Hey Pundarikaksha, they also, looking at Bhagavan, they did not sing Chitante He Brahman. No. Chitante Brahman also is right. Chitante He Paramatma also is right. But they sang Jitante Pundarikaksha. Why? Because they know He is Pundarikaksha here, essentially standing for his irresistible beauty. Only he and he alone can arrest our attention. And he alone can ensure that the animalistic inclinations in us can be tamed. After all, our senses are like the senses of animals. What difference is there? My eyes also are like eyes of a tiger or a lion or a snake or a monkey. My mouth is also like a mouth of a lion, monkey, or a tiger. My ear is also like a monkey mouth or a ear of a monkey or a tiger or a lion. What difference? Senses by themselves, all living beings have senses. And by design, they are supposed to be animalistic, completely uncontrolled. They are supposed to do what they are supposed to do. I cannot blame my eye. If it is open, it will see whatever is there in front of it. If I put anything in my mouth, my tongue will taste it. I cannot tell my eye, keep your eyes open, but don't see anything in front. Something unwanted comes, I cannot blame, but I can tell my mind, whatever comes, I will bring it to you, but stop it. Don't process it further. But how will my mind also do? It is also steeped in worldliness for eons, for ages together. That is the rishis have looked at Bhagavan and said, Jitante Pundarikaksha. Hey Pundarikaksha, the moment my eyes see your eyes, they will not relish any other things. When we start relishing those beautifully bewitching long eyes of Bhagavan, streaming with Vatsalya, with his grace streaming down, the moment we start to experience those electrifying, enchanting eyes of Bhagavan, our eyes automatically are trained not to relish unwanted things. Same is the case with every sense organ. That is why the rishis of yore, for us, for our sake, to give us the formula for success. Looking at him, they said, Jitante Pundarikaksha. So that we also, otherwise we also get confused. Jitante he Brahman, Jitante he Paramatma. Very difficult to conceive the Paramatma. He's been with us in every lifetime, but still we have not conceived him. We still don't know who he is. He is there with us, but we don't know. Brahman, Brahmanatvacha, Yadrupa Brahma Sammitam. We can't even conceive the Brahatva of Brahman. But Pundarikaksha, very simple for us. How simplified things can be made for us. Our rishis have made it so very simple. On a platter, they are giving us the formula for success. Jitante Pundarikaksha Namaste Vishwabhavana Namaste to Rishikesha. The same shloka has the answer. Rishikesha. You are the Rishikesha. Unfortunately, many translations of Rishikesha gives one who has conquered his senses. What a wrong way to translate it. Who are we to tell Bhagavan that he has conquered his senses? He has conquered not his senses, he has conquered our senses. Hey Bhagavan, you have conquered me. Imagine somebody running on the streets. I have lost, I have lost, I have lost. This is what we should do. This is what the Shastras say. I have lost, proclaim it. I have lost to him, to Pundarikaksha. Because why? By losing to Pundarikaksha, I know I have actually won. Hey Rishikesha, all my Rishikas, you are the Isha. You are the Isha of my Rishikesh, all my Rishikas. So you don't tell me in Gita, you spent 6 chapters trying to explain to me how I should control all my senses and my mind. No, I will not do that. Yes, I understand you spent 6 chapters on the Gita about mind mastery, sense control and all that. But Why are you then called Rishikesha? That is why, on our behalf, Goda Devi clearly commanded Narayana. As we celebrate the month of Margashirsha, we also need to reflect on the teachings of Goda Devi, the quintessential embodiment of Bhakti, who very clearly commanded Krishna, hey Krishna, Matrenang Kamangal Matrelorembavai, she said in the Tamil Pastor, Matrenang Kamangal, all my desires, you are asking me, hey Krishna, in the Gita, that I should manage my desires, desire management. I should manage my desires, bring all my desires with one pointed focus onto you. I should exercise my willpower to focus on you, control my sense organs. She very clearly said, how can you ask us to do this, say Krishna? As usual, you're taking us for a ride. You're playing with us. We are, after all, we are ordinary cowherds. This is again speaking the language of Gopikas. Now, Andal, she's assuming herself as the Gopika. And she's having this conversation with Krishna. We are ordinary folks. We don't know all Shastras. We are not people who have learned Vedas and Upanishads. So don't come to us and after, even Arjuna, after all your teaching, not end up what you asked him to do. So don't expect us. If Arjuna cannot do, how are you expecting us to do? But one thing you can do, hey Krishna, that is why we call you Rishikesha. Conquer us. Conquer our senses. You take us, you completely take control. You transform our desires. You manage our desires. You, all that we can do is we will come to you. That much we will do. Beyond that, don't expect us to come out of this worldliness. What a great reassurance for all of us. Imagine if somebody comes to satsang and says, no, I want to come to satsang. Now, what should I do? Tell him, you have to come to satsang from tomorrow. You have to be very disciplined, because we in satsang are very, very disciplined people. We follow very strict rules. So satsang, you have to come, you have to be very disciplined. So from tomorrow, wake up early in the morning at 4 o'clock. Start practicing. 4 o'clock, you should wake up. And after you wake up, do yoga for 1 hour. Then study the Gita. All 18 chapters you have to do. But it only takes 3 hours. What is there? Study the 18 chapter. Okay, I spent 4 hours in the morning. Then what you do? Then you have to do your daily puja. Don't forget that. Then what I do? Then as you go, as you drive to the office, continue to keep chanting the shlokas. Go to the office, sit there. Then what you do? Before starting, pray. Then after what you do? Do your work, pray, come back. In the evening, do. If you keep this list, they will say, thanks. Thanks for your satsang, great. Oh, fantastic. Maybe next janma, if you meet, maybe we'll think about it. But imagine if somebody comes to satsang and says, I want to come to satsang. Don't worry, don't even have your bath, come. Not waking up in the morning and all. Just come. At least brush your teeth, because limited space is there. Don't have bath. Come over. It's okay. Come. Krishna doesn't mind. Krishna doesn't mind at all. What is there? Bath is for the body, not for your soul. This is how we have to start. Come, you can eat whatever you want. No regulations, nothing. Come. But imagine, after a period of time, what happens? Krishna takes over. Krishna takes over. The same person who was cribbing to say, why should I pray in the morning? Why should I have bath? Why should I do this? Why should I do that? After some time, unknowingly will start doing all these things. And if one new satsangi comes, he will start giving the rules. Hey, you have to do this. This is what Andal is saying. Matrenang kamangal matra. Hey Krishna, You have to transform. You are the Rishikesha. Jitante Pundarikaksha Namaste Vishwabhavana. Namaste Stu Rishikesha Mahapurusha Purvaja. Immediately we will ask this question. Then, if Krishna has to do this transformation that needs to happen, maybe I am not qualified. No. Maybe I do not come from the right background. I am not a Brahmana by birth. I have not had any exposure. I do not come from a noble family. Maybe Krishna may not be accepting me. Immediately the rishis of yore immediately answered, Devanam Dhanavanam cha Samanyam Adidevatam Sarvada Charanadvandvam Prajami Sharanam Tava. What an unequivocal, categorical declaration here. No prerequisites whatsoever. To that extent, Devanam Dhanavanam cha. Devas are Danavas, Asuras are Suras. Forget about Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. Suras are Asuras, saints and sinners, no distinction whatsoever. No qualification whatsoever. What qualifications the Gopikas of Vraja had? Devanam Dhanam Samanya Adidevatam Sarvada Charanadvandvam. His divine lotus feet is eternally waiting for everyone. Eternally waiting. That is why it is called Siddhopaya. The Upaya means. The goal is Krishna. The means to Krishna, there are several means. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Prapatti. Sadhya, Siddha. Sadhya is where we put in our effort. Bhakti Yoga, Sadhyopaya. But towards the end of 18th chapter, we'll understand the difference between Sadhyopaya and Siddhopaya. Now, here in the Jitante Stotra, the rishis declare, Sarvada Charanadvandam. Eternally your lotus feet been waiting for everyone. For everyone. It is just for anyone to everyone to grasp it. And the beauty is, one need not even grasp it. Sharanam there is not even physical grasping. Even that inclination, a little bit of a change in direction is enough. Because why? He grasps us. It is that desire to be grasped by him. It is not the intention to grasp him. Because there also, there is an effort required. Who are we? What abilities we have to grasp him? But we can let him grasp us. Sarvada Charanadvandvam Rajami Sharanam Tava. Ekastvamasi Lokasya Srashta Samharakastatha. Adhyakshascha Anumantacha Gunamaya Samavritaha. Why he is the only goal and why he is the means? Because Ekastvamasi Lokasya Srashta. He is the Srashta. Simple answer. He is the Srashta. He is the creator. He is the source. So why there should be any doubt? Why there should be any doubt at all? Whom should I meditate on? I should meditate on my creator. Simple. Whom should I contemplate on? I should contemplate on my source. Simple. Adhyaksha. Why should I? Because he is the protector. Anumanta. He is the witness who will let us exercise our free will, and he will also keep witnessing. We keep exercising our free will, and as long as we keep exercising our free will only, if we keep to revolve around material objects, we'll keep revolving in samsara. If we keep to resolve to evolve towards Krishna, then we get out of samsara. He is Anumanta, his witness here is, he is witnessing means he is giving us that opportunity to continue to keep exercising our free will until we discover that the free will is granted to us only to discover His will. Free will is granted to us only to discover His will. That is why knowing Him, when our free will is contaminated by vasanas, which means our fate is overpowering our free will. Because as long as our jnana is Vishaya jnana means worldly knowledge. As long as we are dipped in worldliness, our Vishaya jnana will contaminate our sankalpa. Our sankalpa is our free will. Because of that contamination, our free will is not actually free. It is imprisoned by our own vasanas, and it is our vasanas which run our lives. Now, this Vishaya Jnana has to be replaced with Atma Jnana. As Krishna says, Jnanagnihi Karma Dagdhara. He says, the Jnanagni is like fire in which all the karmas will burn away. Now, Atma Jnana will decontaminate our free will and will enable us to exercise our free will. But what is important is, with that free will, we then need to discover Bhagavan's will. With the given free will, we study the Shastras, and the Shastras teach us only one thing. Ekastvamasi lokasya srashta samharakas-tatha adhyakshacha anumantacha gunamaya samanvritaha. Gunamaya samanvritaha. Until we are in ajnana, if the gunas of Prakriti are clouding us, we are in ajnana, Vishaya Jnana is contaminating our free will, and vasanas are running our lives. But then, the moment Atma Jnana grows, the decontamination happens. But the beauty is when the Atma Jnana transfigures and transforms into Bhagavad Jnana. When that happens, then the free will is completely aligned and submitted. This is the harmony. This is the harmony between Arjuna and Krishna. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha Yatra Partho Dhanuddaraha Tatra Shrihi Vijayaha Bhutihi Dhruvanetir Matirmama. For Shrihi, for Dhruva Netihi, for Vijayaha, for Bhutihi, the precondition is this harmony between the individual and Krishna. Harmony between free will and Bhagavan's will, which is nothing but completely surrendering the free will to Krishna's will. And when that happens, there is no more dissolution of our resolutions. Otherwise, we resolve and the mind dissolves. How do we stop this mind dissolving our resolutions? We make a resolution for only one thing. First of all, we need to solve this problem of what to resolve. First, we need to understand what to resolve. What should be our New Year resolution? Our New Year resolution, first of all, is to understand what is this success. Because we all want to succeed in every walk of life, in every aspect of life. But this success is possible eternally, not temporary success. Eternally, it is only possible when I start to exercise my free will that is given. In simple ways to exercise our free will is to resolve not to miss satsang. That one resolution we can take. 1st January. If at all we don't take any other resolution, one resolution we can take. By taking that one resolution, that I will come what may, not miss satsang. And let's also add to that, not only will I miss satsang, my family also will not miss satsang. I means family. Family is a building block of the satsang. Each and every one in my family. Not only that, not only my family, my close friends also should be part of the satsang. Why should they be left out? Why should they be left out? How can I bring more people on the path of satsang? So therefore, on this first day of the English calendar, 1st Jan 2022, let us resolve to solve the riddle of life with the Gita, and let us also resolve to be catalysts in solving the riddle for many others. With that resolution, let us all continue our celebration. Satsang, after all, is a continuous journey of celebration. Chitante Pundarikaksha Namaste Vishwabhavana Namaste Stu Rishikesha Mahapurusha Purvaja Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha Yatra Partho Dhanuttaraha Tatra Shrihi Vijayo Bhuti Trivani Tirmatirpama Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.